welcome Sean Jackson. He's our club legend of the week. He's from the Broadview Footy Club in Division 2. Tell us a little bit about your footy career. Where did you start playing the game first of all?
Playing the game seems like so long ago, Luke. I guess I played league football at Woodville, but prior to that I was at St Paul's College, where I played all my school footy in the college system, and then...
Any junior club footy?
No. So back then you weren't allowed to play junior. The football, the colleges were in the same league as the district clubs.
Okay.
So we played in the same competition, so obviously it's changed now, and it has been for quite a while, but when I first played, the colleges were in the same competition as the district clubs, and the rule was if at St Paul's, if you went there, you had to play footy for the school, so I played for the school. When I left school, I played at ANZ Paint, which was my first occupation.
Geez, they were an old amateur league club that folded?
Yeah, they were. It was their first year in amateur league.
On Green Hill Road there,
Correct, yeah, they were in Division 5, and my first day at work, the boss said to me, "Do you want to stay in Adelaide?" And he said, "Oh, you play footy?" was his first question. I said, "Yes," and I'd been invited out to Torrance actually at the time, and he said, "Do you want to stay in Adelaide?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I suggest you play football for the bank, training's next week." So I did that, and that was their first year in amateur league. They'd come out of Southern League or something like that, and Division 5. They're undefeated all year. We won the premiership, and then I moved on the following year. But I think they folded probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years later. But
wouldn't be through lack of money.
No, no, that's right. So ended up playing at Woodville, and then went and coached at a pretty early age up in the Riverland, playing coach.
Well, you're a playing coach.
Yeah, had a couple of years at Loxton North and Riverland, so that was fantastic. And then
you're playing coach at Loxton North.
Yep.
Was that tough?
Yeah, it was tough initially because there's not a lot of literature on Aussie rules. So when I first started coaching, it's a lot different now. There's a lot more.
So how old were you when you took on that playing coach?
25.
Well, you would have had to have had some really good assistants around you.
Yeah, well, I was lucky. I had Mark Pavlich, who lived in the town, and he used to take training on Tuesdays. So it wasn't ideal. He took training Tuesdays, and I'd come up and take training Thursday, play Saturday.
You'd stay up there Friday?
Yeah, the club hired a house out for me for the season, so I'd stay from Thursday to Sunday and drive home Sunday.
Would have been really enjoyable playing on that Riverland comp. That was pretty strong back then, I would have guessed.
It was, yeah, and fantastic ovals, big, always dry, big grounds, great facilities. I would have happily moved up there, to be honest with you.
Country footy's unbelievable like that in terms of its camaraderie and, you know, the facilities are first class, aren't they?
They are, yeah. It's just the drive that gets to you, you know. The second year, it's just...
3 hours?
It's nearly 3 hours to Loxton North, so... but I certainly enjoyed it. So then I moved down to Galway and coached down there for 3 years.
Galway Magpies?
Galway Magpies, yeah. And coached the association sides and stuff like that. And then had a year at Strathalbyn.
So you're playing coach down there?
Playing coach, yeah.
And playing at Strath as well?
Yep.
Okay.
And was probably... had a bit of success there and probably should have stayed on as a year, but just started getting injuries in the last year, and then was approached by South Adelaide to go and coach there, so I coached down to 9. Really
strong comp, that Great Southern League too.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's a good comp and much closer to home than the Riverland football comp. So I had a year at South on 19s, and then I was approached by Stuart to coach the reserves there, so I went there for 3 years, and then to Woodville West Torrance, coached the reserves there for 3 years, and after that I made my way into the amateur league. And I'm happily now at Broadview.
Yeah, I remember, funnily enough, sitting in on an interview, but you won't remember it, was you applied for Kilburn.
I did, yes.
And we sat there and you were offered the job, but in fact, I know who the 5 men were picking the Kilburn coach, and we all had to mark it off, and like we didn't know any of this at that point, and you got all 15 votes.
Yeah, it was a difficult one because I actually, that was in between Sturt and Woodville West Torrance, and I'd had a phone call from Woodville West Torrance to apply for the league job. So I filled out my application and all that sort of stuff, and I was awaiting an interview. And I got the phone call from Kilburn saying, you got the job. And I said, well, as I explained at the interview, my preference is if I get the league job at Woodville West Torrance, that's where I'll be going. And, so I said, look, I can't commit. And they said, well, you've got to the end of the week. And I said, well, that's fine. I understand you're going somewhere else. So I think Roger Delaney got the job and had some success. So it was a good win for Kilburn.
He was actually the third choice. It was Alan Stringer, I think, was second. Okay. And he took on North Clare or South Clare or one of them. And and Roger come along and got the job after being, I think, third choice and end up getting a flag.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's funny how it works out.
It's all funny how it works out.
Yeah. So, here we are at Broadview and really enjoying it, mate. We took on a
long time at Flinders Park, though.
Yeah, had 7 years at Flinders Park, absolutely loved it. Had some success there, and we struggled as a club. Flinders Park struggled as a club to hold ground in Division 2. I think the 7 years I was there, we were in Division 2 for 5 years, and the 2 years we were in Division 3, we won the premiership. Played some finals in Division 2, but were never able to quite bridge the gap from being a good Division 2 side.
Not you, because you weren't noted for being a high-paying club, Flinders Park, and it's always hard to attract players.
Yeah, I think the other issue was Henley was on your doorstep.
Yeah.
So we were competing for the same players coming out of Woodville West Torrens, and given the fact that they were in Division 1 and we were in Division 2, Division 3, it was always a hard sell to try and get them to come to Flinders Park. So I thought that situation may have changed a couple of years ago when Henley dropped to Division 2 and Flinders Park were making their way back into Division 2, but unfortunately the situation's the same again now, isn't it? Henley in Division 1.
They've got that strong junior system at Henley that they just hold on to them.
Yeah, well traditionally they were the strongest junior club for a long time. That situation's changed a bit now over the last 5 or 6 years.
Still got the football academy at Henley High, though.
Yes, correct. They get some fallout from the academy, but the zones have now changed around those areas. So that's one thing that's in Flinders Park's favour, and look, Flinders Park from an under 18 perspective, are the only club that's had 2 sides in the under 18s for probably 3 years. They're back to 1 this year, but so they're doing something right at the under 18 level.
Well, that's when you get them, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, you see some of the clubs that don't have under 18s and they really struggle to be able to put sides out in the park each week. So
well, it costs you points and then more money.
Yeah. So it's a challenge, but as I said, been at Broadview now for 2 years, second year, and we had a very young side last year, and we're still young this year.
It would have been really tough last year with blooding all the youngsters.
Yeah, it was, and we're lucky in the end that we were 0-10, and then managed to win 4 of our last 8 games, and probably unlucky not to win 6, and finished in the same spot they had the previous 2 years, which was 8th, and avoided relegation. And this year we've improved, and currently we're sitting 4th on the ladder with 7 wins as opposed to 4 for the whole year last year. So we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I suppose we talked about it before with Gazer. You need that 60 games in the young lads before they start to become consistent.
Yeah, look, it's
just time, isn't it?
Yeah, every year is a challenge because you come in the first year and everyone's keen to impress a new coach, and then guys realise that they're maybe not in the best 22, so you get a bit of a fallout from that. And so every club has its challenges, and Broadview's no different to anyone else. Hopefully we can retain our players at the end of this year and add to them next year. And this year's obviously not done and dusted by any stretch of the imagination, but
no.
Division 2 is a very tight competition. St Peter's have been dominating to this stage, yet to lose a game.
You're still not highly experienced yet, are you, as a team?
No, we're not. Not in comparison. I think both St Peter's and Brighton are the most experienced sides in the competition, and it shows.
You tend to find the clubs that have got players who have played between 80 and 120 games on average tend to be the premiership side.
Yeah, I guess that's the challenge for all clubs, isn't it? Try and hang on to that core group. It's all well and good to say, I hear it get trotted out all the time, we're a young group, as if it's some sort of excuse. And it is, but it can't continue to be an excuse. As a club...
You've got 2 or 3 years to make it, to blood them and get them through.
You've got to find a way to keep it. And we were really lucky we didn't lose too many from last year to this year. And I guess that'll be the challenge again for 2019.
All right then, thank you very much for being our club legend, Lloyd.